The man called the future of basketball, Victor Wembanyama, is trapped in a terrifying situation that caught the entire world off guard. What started as a scary fall has spiraled into something much darker behind closed doors. Updates are looking bleak. Concern is spreading through the NBA, and even legends like LeBron James are speaking out, proving just how high the stakes have become for the Spurs. Moving from a historic postseason debut to total uncertainty, his season has flipped upside down in just a few hours. So, let's unpack what really happened, the latest on his health, and why this specific moment could have massive consequences for the Spurs and the entire future of the league. Tuesday night in San Antonio was meant to be a massive party. The 7'4" center had just accepted his Defensive Player of the Year trophy, the medal still warm from the pre-game ceremony. That award made history as the first unanimous win ever, and Wembanyama became the youngest pro to ever claim that elite defensive title. The 22-year-old Frenchman swept all 100 votes, while Chet Holmgren from the Thunder trailed with 76 second-place votes. The Frostbank Center was electric. San Antonio held the second seed out west, and Wemby had already warned the competition 2 days prior with a truly legendary performance. Then, with 8 minutes 57 seconds left in the second quarter of Game 2, the nightmare began. It happened on a spin move in the paint when Wembanyama took a hard foul from Drew Holiday. While tumbling down, he tried to kick the ball out, leaving him unable to shield his head before crashing into the floor. He couldn't brace for the impact, and his jaw slammed directly into the hardwood. When you stand 7 feet 4 inches tall, the trip to the floor is a long way down. There is no such thing as a soft landing. There is no absorbing that kind of force when your face meets the court at full speed. Wembanyama struggled to get up, clutching his head and shielding his eyes from the blinding arena lights above him. He stayed down for 30 seconds before sitting up for a full minute to speak with his teammate, Stephon Castle. The Giant sat under the rim as a timeout was called, while Wemby chants echoed through the packed San Antonio arena. He eventually stood and jogged toward the locker room, with head trainer Will Seavening trailing close behind. 18 agonizing minutes later, the news broke. The Spurs confirmed Wembanyama entered concussion protocol and would miss the rest of the game against the Trailblazers. Stephon Castle, the rookie who watched the whole thing happen, gave an update to the media. "I was just checking him, making sure he was all right," Castle told reporters. "He ran off the court, which is good. But honestly, it didn't feel good to the 19,000-plus fans in the stands or the staff on the bench. Not for the Spurs coaching staff, and definitely not for millions of fans watching this 22-year-old superstar take a brutal hit in just his second playoff game." Shams Charania later reported the official concussion diagnosis and mentioned that more medical testing was scheduled for Wednesday. Now, everyone is asking one thing: when will the alien return? To see why this injury paralyzes San Antonio, you have to look at what Wembanyama was doing right before the accident. Just look back 48 hours. Sunday night, during Game 1 of the Spurs opening series, Victor exploded for 35 points. That is the highest scoring debut in franchise history, fueling a win over the Blazers. The performance was absolutely undeniably dominant. Wemby's line: 35 points on 13 for 21 shooting, 5 triples, 5 boards, 2 blocks, and an assist. He shattered the franchise record for a playoff debut, even passing Tim Duncan's 32 points. Think about that. Tim Duncan's record from 1998 had been the gold standard in San Antonio for 28 years. Wembanyama cruised past it with a 35-point masterclass. He didn't just break the record, he dismantled it with surgical precision. He poured in 21 points by halftime. That performance set a brand new NBA record for the highest scoring first half in a playoff debut, sending the Spurs to the locker room with a massive lead while crushing the previous 20-point mark held by stars like Kyrie Irving and Brandon Jennings. The way he scored was pure magic. He was efficient at every level, hitting a 6-foot runner in the paint and an off-dribble corner 3. A step-back deep 3 over Robert Williams III, followed by a coast-to-coast dunk that sent 19,000-plus fans into a frenzy. He took on 8 different Portland defenders and torched every one. Against Donovan Clingan, he shot 4 for 6. Against Robert Williams III, he went 2 for 5. All while Spurs legends watched from the stands. Wembanyama sealed the win with a 14-point fourth quarter, while icons like Duncan and Robinson looked on. When the big screen showed Duncan and Robinson sitting together in the second half, the packed arena let out its loudest roar of the night. The symbolism was unmistakable. It was the past meeting the present, the old guard passing the torch. This was their first playoff run without coach Greg Popovich since 1999, a legendary era of 5 titles. It was also the Spurs' first postseason victory since 2019. San Antonio had suffered a 6-year drought, the longest in their history, and Wembanyama was the rain. But then came Game 2. In just one violent fall, all that incredible momentum simply vanished. The French superstar played only 12 first-half minutes, finishing with 5 points and 4 rebounds on just 1 of 3 shooting for the game. Once he left, the Spurs fought like hell. San Antonio stayed gritty and led by 14 in the third. But Portland smelled blood and started clawing their way right back. Scoot Henderson went nuclear, leading the Blazers past the Spurs in a 3-point victory. The Blazers took the game 106-103, tying the series at 1 each. The series was knotted up, and Wemby was nowhere to be found. While Wembanyama was being examined in a San Antonio hospital, LeBron James was busy on the other side of the bracket, dominating playoff basketball like he has for 23 years. LeBron James delivered a vintage performance with 28 points, 8 rebounds, and 7 assists, leading the Lakers over the Rockets for a 2-0 series lead. At 41 years old and in season 23, LeBron is still here, still producing, and still carrying the Lakers. Even in his 23rd season, King James is still going strong. 20 points, 7 assists, 6 rebounds, and 51% from the field. Yet, despite his longevity, even LeBron knows the future belongs to that tall Frenchman, currently in concussion protocol in South Texas. Just weeks ago on his podcast, LeBron made a statement that sent massive shockwaves through the entire NBA community. "I am glad I am out of the league when Wembanyama hits his prime. I am happy to just watch and figure out what time my golf tee time is tomorrow," James said. Coming from LeBron James, a man who has been the best for 20 years, that admission was remarkable. His inner circle feels the same. His longtime agent, Rich Paul, went even further while speaking on the Game Over podcast. "Wemby will be the face of the league, I am convinced. He allows you to buy into his humility while bringing it every night on both ends," Paul said. He added, "We all love the Giants anyway. That is just the NBA. As I watch him, it is hard not to root for him." Now think about the weight of that endorsement. This is LeBron James's agent. The man who built an empire around the best player of his era is openly declaring that Victor Wembanyama is next, not Luka or Anthony Edwards. Wemby. The connection between James and Wembanyama has grown all year, but Wemby is being compared to another generational superstar entirely. 20 years ago, LeBron played his first playoff game for Cleveland, putting up 32 points, 11 rebounds, and 11 assists. Back then, James was only the 3rd player in league history to drop a triple-double in his very first playoff game. Just like LeBron, the Spurs' big man made his playoff debut during his 3rd year in the league. Wembanyama is currently the same age James was when he carried Cleveland to the NBA Finals, which happened to be against Duncan and the Spurs. The parallels are eerie, the timing is poetic, and having both legends on the court at once is a true once-in-a-generation overlap. 2 eras existing at the same time in the same bracket. But there is also a very human side to this story. While Wembanyama is just starting his journey, LeBron is finally preparing to wrap up his legendary career. There is real talk that James might leave the Lakers this offseason, and at 41 years old, retirement is always a real possibility. When LeBron watches a 22-year-old crash onto the hardwood during the playoffs, he sees more than just an injury. He realizes how fragile it all is. One bad step or a hard fall can wreck an entire career. Their moments on the court this year showed nothing but massive respect between the two stars. During All-Star Weekend, Victor Wembanyama was asked if he would cry when LeBron James retired. His answer was ice cold, just one word, no. Everyone laughed. Wemby did admit things will feel strange when the King finally hangs up his jersey for good. That moment perfectly showed their connection. Mutual admiration, a bit of comedy, and the silent truth that one legend's exit is simply another's grand entrance. The NBA concussion protocol is not optional. It is a strict, grueling process that you simply cannot rush, no matter the stakes. According to the league's official medical guidelines, a player is barred from full team activity for 48 hours after a head injury occurs. After that, the athlete has to pass several physical tests without any symptoms returning. These hurdles are tough and designed to be slow. It is a very strict, multi-phase system. He must remain symptom-free while moving from a gym bike to jogging and finally back to full basketball drills on the court. A league-appointed doctor specializing in brain health oversees and signs off on every single step of this process. Then, a team physician and the league's protocol director must both give the final green light. Game 3 in Portland is Friday night, then Game 4 is Sunday. Right now, the series is tied at 1. It is unlikely Wemby will be back that fast. Coach Mitch Johnson sounded cautious when reporters asked about the big man's status. Rules are rules. We'll just follow the process like everyone else and move forward with the guys we have. But what happens to San Antonio when you take the league's best two-way force off the floor? We saw that answer play out live during the second half of Game 2. Veteran Luke Kornet stepped in at center to start the second half, putting up 10 points and 9 boards in 28 minutes. Kornet played well considering the massive pressure on his shoulders. Even Portland coach Tiago Splitter noticed how much things changed once Wemby left. It was terrifying. I saw the replays. It looked bad, Splitter admitted. Keldon Johnson, who has survived the entire San Antonio rebuild, tried to stay positive despite the tough loss in Game 2. We are all praying for the best, but news is scarce. Losing the big guy is a huge blow, but we are a solid group. We'll stick together, fight for each other, and keep playing our brand of basketball. Castle added, "We have won tough games without him. We want him healthy and on the floor, obviously, but the stats paint a grim picture." Wemby averaged 25 points, 11.5 rebounds, and 3.1 assists. 3 blocks. He also averaged a steal, becoming the only NBA player ever to hit 1,500 points, 700 rebounds, and over 50 steals in one season. You just cannot replace that kind of elite production on both ends of the court. Losing him long-term is a nightmare for the number 2 seed in the West, even with their deep roster of talented young prospects. This whole team was built around what Victor Wembanyama provides, and having him go down now is just incredibly bad luck. The Spurs are back in the playoffs for the first time since 2019. The city waited 6 years for postseason basketball, but the star who got them here is now stuck in a dark room for medical testing. San Antonio swept Portland in the regular season, and the weird part is, Wembanyama did not even play in those 3 games. So, they can win without him in January, but the NBA playoffs are a completely different animal with much higher stakes. The intensity is insane. There is zero room for mistakes now. A 7-game series against Scoot Henderson and a hungry Portland squad demands your best player at full strength. So, where do we go? Honestly, right now nobody has the answer. We still do not know if Wembanyama returns for Game 3 on Friday, April 24th, or if he's out even longer. In a perfect world, Victor could be back on the court this Friday in Portland. If Wednesday's tests are clean and his symptoms vanish, he might breeze through the protocol without any issues. There's a tiny chance he plays, but it's a very long shot. The star center could still make it back for Friday's game in Portland, depending on how bad the hit was. For now, though, he is considered very questionable to play. The nightmare scenario: if Wembanyama sits out the rest of the first round, the Spurs must battle Portland with Kornet at center. Suddenly, the dreams of 19,000 screaming fans fall onto the shoulders of Castle, Fox, and Vassell. This disaster stretches far beyond San Antonio. Wemby is playing as well as anyone on Earth right now, and losing him for a long period completely breaks the Western Conference playoff bracket. Networks, sponsors, and global fans all tuned into the postseason just to watch Victor Wembanyama dominate the league. Without him, the Spurs suffer and the entire 2026 playoff spectacle loses its magic. Then there is the human side, something LeBron James understands better than any other player alive. LeBron has spent 20 years playing through pain. He has seen teammates crumble and rivals limp to the locker room. He knows that cold, lonely feeling of sitting out while your team fights without you. When he told Mind the Game he was glad he would miss Wemby's prime, there was a deeper meaning that most fans totally missed. It was more than just respect. It was a veteran realizing that a giant like Wemby, 7 feet 4 inches tall, and incredibly gifted, is physically vulnerable. Moving that fast at that size makes you a target for exactly what happened on Tuesday night. When you are 7'4" and hit the floor, physics are cruel. There's a lot further to fall. The impact is violent. Plus, there is the scary truth that concussions, unlike a sore knee, do not follow a simple schedule for recovery. They are invisible hits with massive real-world fallout, and returning too soon can cause damage that lasts much longer than one playoff series. San Antonio knows this. This is not the kind of injury a medical team allows you to play through. With the series tied at 1-1, the pressure to return is huge, but Wembanyama must prioritize his long-term health. LeBron James built a legacy over 23 seasons because he respected his body, managed his workload, and knew one game is never worth more than a career. That is the core lesson in his words about the young star. When he mentions Wemby hitting his peak, he is doing more than just being nice. He is really saying take care of yourself, because the world needs to see the legend you will become. The 2026 playoffs move on. LeBron will keep driving the Lakers toward a title. The Spurs will fight for every point without their leader. But that image of a 7'4" giant face down on the hardwood stays with you. The arena falling silent, and the future of the basketball world going dark is a reminder that greatness is always fragile. Victor Wembanyama will return, whether it happens this Friday, Sunday, or even later than that. The kid who dropped 35 points in his debut and won Defensive Player of the Year will be back. The player who has LeBron James thanking God he is retiring, soon he will return. The only question is when. And until then, the whole world waits.